Welcome back everyone. Today we will be talking about the most recent update to the Good Clinical Practice Guidelines, which came out last July. As you know, the ICH E6 R3 Guidelines was the gold standard that shaped global clinical trials for almost a decade. However, on July 25th, the updated guidelines ICH E6 R3 was made effective. So in this session, we will explore what's new in the new Good Clinical Practice Guidelines and why this update is important for us. In fact, the ICH Assembly approved the final version of E6 R3 on Jan 6, 2025. And it became official within the European Medicines Agency and many other global systems on July 25th, 2025. That means, depending on your region and regulatory authority, this guideline is already active or it will be just in few weeks. The new update is critical for anyone working in clinical research, whether as a clinical research investigator, CRA, CRO, or in medical affairs, clinical development, or regulatory. So it is time now to get familiar with the new ICH E6 R3 as it presents a paradigm shift in how we think about good clinical practice. If you remember, the R2 version of the guidelines was released in 2016. And in fact, it brought significant progress. It introduced risk-based monitoring, emphasized the quality management systems, and also acknowledged the growing role of electronic systems. But since then, since 2016, the world of clinical research evolved quickly. We witnessed, for example, the rise of decentralized trials, real-world data and evidence, patient centricity, with a growing need for flexibility and proportionality in the oversight. So R2 began to feel rigid, difficult to apply consistently across diverse settings, from large pharma and biotech to academic and global multi-site studies. So ICH E6 R3 was designed around a key question. How can we uphold ethical and scientific rigor while making good clinical practice more adaptable, more relevant, and more forward-looking? Talking about the structure of the new guidelines, E6 R3 now follows a modular structure, making it actually more dynamic and easier to update in the future. It includes three main sections or modules: the Good Clinical Practice Principles, which is a newly refreshed set of 11 foundational principles that apply across all trials. The second module is Annex 1, which is a guidance for interventional clinical trials involving investigational medical products. The third module is Annex 2, which covers the non-interventional studies and other trial types. This structure allows updates to be added or refined without rewriting the entire document once again. A huge leap forward from the one-size-fits-all approach that we had before. Now let's zoom in on what has really changed compared to 2016 version. Actually, there are 7 major changes. 1. Fewer principles, but broader scope. As you remember, R2 had 13 principles. R3 simplifies them into 11, but they are broader, more holistic, and more value-driven. The 11 principles now emphasize clinical conduct, participant rights, scientific soundness, transparency, and accountability. The language has shifted dramatically from just a checklist to a value-based framework. The second change is about proportionality and flexibility. R3 now introduces the concept of proportionality, meaning that documentation and oversight should match the risk and complexity of a trial. And this is a game-changing factor for smaller studies and probably with lower risk designs, because this means less unnecessary burden and more focus on the quality. The third change is the participant-centric approach. E6 R3 refines how we view participants, not anymore as subjects, but now as partners. The update stresses trust, transparency, and respect. And also it expects informed consent to be clear, meaningful, and more human. So this change is very important. The fourth change is embracing technology and digital innovation. Unlike R2 version, the new guideline embraces the digital era. So it allows remote monitoring, electronic consent, and the decentralized data capture. And this makes it really future ready, even for hybrid and virtual trial model. The fifth change strengthened roles and responsibilities. R3 puts now focus on collaboration, ensuring sponsors, investigators, CRO, and vendors share clear roles and responsibilities, all under proper oversight. The sixth change is the quality by design concepts. Quality by design, or QBD. This is a major shift once again. Quality is not just monitored, it's built in from the very beginning, from the start. Research teams now are expected to design protocols that promote quality and prevent errors, not just detect them later. The seventh change is about enhanced risk management. While R2 version introduced risk-based monitoring, R3 extends that into a risk-proportionate approach for the entire trial lifecycle, from design to execution and oversight. So risk management now actually shapes how trials are built, not just how they are monitored or watched. So these are the 7 major changes in R3 compared to R2. Let's highlight them quickly once again. First, fewer principles but broader scope. 2, proportionality and flexibility. 3, the participant-centric approach. 4, embracing technology and digital innovation. 5, strengthened roles and responsibilities. 6, the introduction of the quality by design concept. And finally, enhanced risk management. I will put in the description a link to an infographic that gathers them all and illustrates their details. So why does all of this matter to us? If you are a clinical investigator, this affects how your site operates, how you consent patients, and how you document deviations. Moreover, how you prepare for the future audits. And if you are in medical affairs, especially supporting investigator-initiated research or evidence generation, this gives you the framework to engage ethically and confidently with investigators. And if you are in clinical operations, regulatory, or quality assurance, E6 R3 is now your new blueprint. So as a takeaway, the ICH E6 R3 guideline replaces the R2's rigid checklist with a flexible principle-based model. It puts people, participants, researchers, and sponsors back at the center of ethical, efficient, and high-quality clinical research. Thank you everyone for your attention, and thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.